and for radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Dice Before Dishonor. When last we left our heroes, they are still abroad. They are separated, segregated, and have yet to be assimilated at court. We go now to the shores of the Jarroon River, where Lord Samish Gildevarth has ensured the escape of slave, merchant, and merchant vessel sailor alike. Lord Varth, shipless, and sort of the long trek into their country, would you escort or would you stay on point with your mission and find a way to cross the river and head home to Apara to rejoin your comrades?
Well, gathering up the men, I'd want to kind of do, a quick kind of accounting of who knows what. Is there any river people here that know where the next ford is across this river? Is there one? Is there kind of a boatman that can be hired? I mean, we got to get out of here, guys. Yeah.
There is, and they can direct you to it. You're happy with letting the civilians go back to their lives, on their own?
Yeah, I mean, if
the immediate dangers don't want to... Sorry, the immediate dangers have passed, but the dangers of the world...
Well, where do these guys want to go? I mean, I tell them I'm headed back to Opera. You're welcome to come with.
There are most of them are Qadirian, so not so welcome and not so eager to cross the river with you.
So where's the nearest town?
Except one.
Yeah.
One of the escapees who's been standing apart watching and listening, possibly because of the color of his skin. He's not entirely human. Steps up and offers...
Oh, I can help you. I know the exact way back to Opara. My name is Fafal. Pleasure to meet you. Truly, truly. Thank you. Thank you for your help.
Fafal?
Fafal.
Would you describe what Lord Gildevar sees?
Oh, yes. So, as this man, he appears very wispy. He's a sylph, fairly green, kind of light-skinned, silvery hair, silver eyes, short man, fairly thin. You can actually see some of his ribs right now. He appears very underfed, and red marks upon the hands and feet from previous shackles and ropes and whatnot, and whip marks across the back.
So you're in rags and obviously one of the slaves that sort of wiggled out of a porthole and swam for it?
Yes.
You appear underfed. Are you okay? Are the rest of you okay? I don't have much food or water, but I'll offer to share what I have.
They will be fine. The next town over is quite close. Half a kilometer or so. I myself am fine. I've rarely dined anyways. Tis no trouble. Seriously. But thank you for the offer.
I will kind of untie my water skin and offer it out. Bafal, drink. We can't start a journey thirsty.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What was your name?
Samish.
Samish. Very good name. A wonderful name. Truly, truly wonderful. I see the light of Serenay has blessed me this day.
Are you a worshipper?
Of course. I love Serenray, and Serenray loves us. Her light is beautiful.
And did you say you are from Opera?
No.
Quite
Heavens,
no.
I'm originally from Kathir, the capital of Quadria. It just so happens that I was caught. I was placed under unfortunate circumstances, which led me into my most recent bout of forced labor, and it just so happens I was able to escape. And those who believed that I was at fault for previous acts and previous transactions are now with those beyond this life, and everything's good.
Okay, and that, a part of the line of questioning I'm going through, just kind of this feeling out stage, is I'm also trying to sense motive.
Okay. Now, technically, sensing motive and bluff on players doesn't work. You just decide on your own and role play it out if he's full of shit or not. There is no, and the DM agrees he's full of crap or not. Player versus player for some of those skills actually is totally redundant. You have full control if you suspect the player or the character.
So as I hand over the water skin, I'll notice the marks on his wrists and things like that. It seems you've led quite a checkered past. Were you born to this life, or did something fall amiss?
Oh, no. Heavens, no. I grew up well, I'm a transporter of goods. I make sure the people that need what needs to be needed is acquired that. And so I'm a middleman of sorts, and a traveler. But it just so happens that some of the guards, through Ordeline, happen to have planted some evidence that is the only way that I could believe that it ended up on my cart, because I would have held any of this disgusting, vile stuff that just so happens to be quite illegal in Taldor. And they arrested me for it and put me into indentured servitude. It's truly a horrible thing, but I have since become a more humble, a more gracious man who has seen the light, the error of his unnecessary ways, the charging a little too much for services that are quite simple, really. And that is all due to the light of Sarenrae.
So you're saying that because of Sarenrae, you overcharged for your services and were thrown into servitude?
No. I have become a much better person because of my servitude and because I have found Sarenrae.
Well, let's make sure that none of those goods of mine find way to the market without my knowing it, and we'll be square. For now, though, you've committed no crimes to me, and I consider what you've done paid for. You owe me no explanations.
Wonderful.
If we're to travel together, that's fine.
Yes. Let us head out as soon as you're ready, of course.
I'll turn back towards the others. Shall we take you to the nearest town, then? The crowd falls ominously silent.
I'm just looking at the map from where you guys are. The capital, Kathir, that he mentioned, is about 100 miles due south on the border of another river. The closest town is actually on the Taladian side. There are settlements, but no actual notable landmarks of civilization on the map. But even a village or something could probably help these people, and they can make their way back to relatives and whatnot. Question is, do you guys care? Obviously, our former indentured slave here, who just gained his freedom, probably does not wish to return to the Khadirian homeland or Kathir to have to get re-caught and serve out the rest of his sentence, and wants to flee into Taldor at your side.
Well, I would just like to take these guys to the nearest settlement to make sure that they're not picked off by brigands or monsters or what have you.
Sure.
And then I can leave these lands with a clear conscience.
Of course.
So, again, addressing the crowd, shall I take you someplace more hospitable?
They humbly thank you, great rider and follower of Sarenrae. And 3 days later, you find yourself, them, tucked away in a safe settlement, and you further up the river at a, shall we say, a little bit more easy passage with a riverboat to get across. And well on your way into Taladian territory.
All right.
Now, both of you know knowledge local, gentlemen.
I'm sorry, did you say knowledge nobility?
7. Natural 1, first.
How about history? Will also work.
I don't have history.
I have an 8 with no knowledge local ranks.
Okay.
And I do not have knowledge history.
All right.
All I've got is knowledge nobility.
That's fine.
It.
The DC for this is practically, it's a huge historical event. Long story short, in the last conflict where Taladian forces went abroad to teach Cheliax a lesson, which was once one of their colonies, the Kadirans went, what an opportunity, and invaded. In the very end, the current prince, or grand prince, blamed the clerics of Sarenrae for sort of giving the Kadirian a leg up, as it were, not in fashion currently to enforce it, as of late, as times are changing, but still, the tradition holds it is illegal to openly worship Sarenrae. Now, people aren't necessarily hassled. They don't just, like, check them and they'll go, Kadirian merchant, look, you've got a holy symbol, bad you. No, there's a difference. But, like, praying in the streets of Taldor, probably going to get you a warning, if not arrested. Or walking around with a giant symbol on your shield out in public, probably not a good example for a nobleman. Now, you know this, and you've only brought out your shield in combat, underground, and that kind of thing, and have kept it covered. Which, I think we skipped over actually mentioning. You've kind of kept it, unless once you hit Kadirian soil, then you got into expressing your beliefs and whatnot, or when you were underneath the Church of Arden and sort of in confidence to their priests of Arden talking about your religion, which they kind of went, and they overlooked, they didn't go right to the, you helped us, but you know what, that's, they have an open sort of...
Screw you, hippie.
Yeah. Acceptance of faiths.
Okay.
So now that you are across the Jarroon River. Now that you are across the Jarroon River and past the border wood, Zamar still dangerously looms less than 50, 60 miles to the east. The road splits, and taking the northwest route will take you directly towards the river Porthmos, which you can branch off at the last moment before you hit the river and head straight to Opera, crossing that river and right into the capital itself. 150, 60 miles to go. A great chance for you to get to know one another. The, shall we say, overly accommodating sylph named Fafal has very little in the way of gear, belongings, and he certainly doesn't have a mount.
Well, that sucks for you. I mean, you've got no gear.
Nope. Dude was a slave.
I figured we would have picked up a mount from whatever settlement we dropped the people off in.
Well, that would depend if Frank wants to pay, Yeah,
I guess that's fair.
Or wrangled.
We could. Frank doesn't have money for a horse.
Yeah. Let's see.
I assume there wasn't a lot of gear for sale there, so I'm not giving him a weapon until I know him a little bit better. But
okay,
I do have some things that I can kind of give him so he can defend himself. No armor, unfortunately. I mean, I don't run around with roll coats of armor.
He could hold a shield. Then if you get in trouble, that's him. I had just arrested him.
I do have manacles.
Will fit the part.
All right. I mean, so I've got a kukri that, over the course of a 150-mile journey that I would have, offered up. Okay. Light mace if he needs it.
All right.
So the first night on the road, as we make camp, I'll kind of take this accounting of what he's able to do. I mean, hand him over a flint and steel. Hey, we need to make a fire while I set up this tent here. I'll kind of make my side of the camp, see just if he's handy, kind of assess his survival skills.
Okay. Do you have survival, Fafal?
Can I make it untrained?
I mean, but it's not like hunting. I mean, it's like, here, make this fire with this flint and steel. I assume it's less than a DC 10 to use flint and steel.
Oh yeah. But I just thought it was funny if he promised you could do all kinds of things, and he's like, nope. Can you cook? No.
I mean, no. Here's a pot and some water. What do I do with it?
I got a 7 on survival.
Okay.
Do with that what you will.
An hour later, he's still sparking the tinder, Emasculated by 2 rocks. Ting, ting, ting.
Oh no. Fafal is definitely not someone to mumble to himself. Rant, possibly, when he has his enemies tied up, of course. But okay. No, never whispering, talking to himself. My precious.
So if he looks like he's struggling, I'll kind of go over there and here, let me try.
Okay.
And I'll kind of brush him off real quick and then strike up the fire. Okay. They must have been wet. I'll hand them back to him. I'll break out the mess kit and some of the foods and stuff like that and say, make what you will of that while I set up a proper tent.
You have a rock. You are armed for fall. Do you take vengeance now for the oppression of the Chaldean people embodied in this nobleman?
Well, I don't know he's a nobleman. I only know the first name, and I know he's got a fancy Sarenrae shield. That's why I started praising Sarenrae.
He does have money, and he carries himself like a noble. Do you have nobility? The skill?
I actually do have nobility.
Well, why don't you give us
Do you have appraisal?
No, I do not.
That's a free skill. That I can tell you.
Okay. All right. Knowledge nobility of 24.
All right.
And
the army, the armor, the family crest, the way he carries himself. Okay, you could even guess one of the families he belongs to. This guy is seriously upper crust. He's in the inner circle. He's got to belong to one of the 5, ruling families, if not possibly. Nah, you're not sure. You were very close to like, hey, I know you're Stavian. I would have been 25, but over 20, it's like, this is a nobleman. He comes from a very powerful family, and
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like knowing that. Oh, by the way, I got another natural 1 on an appraise check.
His armor's garbage. Like, look at these tattered.
All of
the
my
fashion
all
sense
of my
is
gear
horrible.
Yeah.
It's worthless. It's all fake. But yeah, no. Fafal wasn't even like planning on it screwing this guy over yet. But like sitting down and like really like taking a look at him, seeing like the bone structure of the face, the well built body and armor, of course, and the crest. Of course, how could he have missed the crest? Knowing that he's from one of the bigger families of Taldor. Knowing that if he does something and this guy lives and that family finds out, Fafal is fucked. And 2, if he does something... Exactly, fucked. And if he does something and that horse gets away, he's stranded kind of in the middle of nowhere to go, try and survive. Fafal, well, he is a very handy man. Is not great in the outdoors. He's better, in an urban environment dealing with people and, things.
Okay. First night, Frank, you were talking about testing him.
Yeah, I mean, so it kind of seems like his survival skills are a little rudimentary. That's fine. I mean, he's not. Samish wouldn't take any kind of special note of that, but he's just trying to get a handle on what he can do.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, all right. So I'll take first watch if you'd like to make yourself comfortable.
Sure. I would have offered, but I understand where we kind of stand. Me being, as I was an escapee slave, not trusting me with the first watch. I do understand. So, good night. Wake me when it is my time for watch. And Fafal will just pass into a wonderful slumber.
Okay. First night passes without incident. And as the days go by, 3 things become apparent to Lord Gildevarth. First of all, the man does not carry himself like a slave. Sure, he's playing the part and is certainly down on his luck, but small indications, the way he sits even on the log, the way he seems to know things about your horse, where to stand. He's been around horses, obviously. Certain things that, make the eyes perk up or the ears perk up that you watch for. Testing him with Vicky, testing him on the road. He doesn't wander down the middle of it like some vagrant or whatever. When we do encounter travelers or whatever, he keeps himself in a tactical position, that type of thing. And he tries to speak. The biggest thing is how he speaks so eloquently, or at least confidently. Right now, he just, like I said, he claimed to you to be a sylph down on his luck. But this is not an ordinary, this guy has at least come from a little bit of money, at least merchant class. He's certainly, I wouldn't say a commoner, maybe a tradesman or better. By the time you reach the river to cross Opara, would you have him at the trust level where you would let him possibly care for Vicky a little bit?
Well, I think at this point, I will have come to 2 conclusions. Either he's, a a rogue or a bandit with terrible luck and got caught, or he's some kind of urbanite, that likes to live a little dangerously. So I'm anticipating, the ride across the wilderness to be relatively safe as far as, backstabbery goes.
Okay.
Just because he's shown that, he's at least somewhat dependent on, the survival skills and things like that. So as we travel and we get closer to town, I'll start to bring up, what are your plans when we get to Opera? Do you have anyone looking after you? Are we parting company here?
All right. The biggest obstacle you're going to have to face with him is his heritage. He is obviously genie kin. He has genie blood in him. It's apparent on his face, his skin, his hair. Unless he disguises himself and wraps himself up in a hood, all Jedi-like, in his current attire, he wears the mark of Kadira or Katapesh, at least the lands of the genies. And Taldor, not very big on Kadirians. So if you were to leave him on his own in the city, with no money, looking like a slave, and looking like a race that I wouldn't say is even shunned by his own countrymen, but you know what I mean? Like, you're not just like, goodbye, equal guy, here's $5, you're on your own, you know what I mean?
Sucks to be you.
Exactly. Not that you're beholden to him, but like I said, that's probably the biggest thing weighing on your mind.
If he shows himself that he's got some honor, then I think the first stop when we get into town is to hit an outfitters. And I'll tell you, Fafal, you've shown yourself to be at least, trustworthy as far as our journey has come. I would be remiss if I were to set you free on Opera without at least a set of decent clothes and something to defend yourself from the common man. I mean, they do kind of, my kinsmen do tend to look down on those not of pure stock.
I greatly appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. I do. I do not have any friends or family in Opara. I assume you're from at least the nearby area based on your, well, as you put it, pure stock.
Well, my family's from farther up north. I was merely staying at a villa in Opara. But much like yourself, I am, not quite a sellsword, but I do try to do good work when it comes my way. But let's see if we can't get you outfitted.
Sounds wonderful. I do greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. So, question. Your main concern is you've probably learned by this point that Lord Gildevarth, maybe a lord or not, is an actual, knight of the realm, a cavalier, some sort of militia guard, like something important enough, because this guy knows his horse very well. He has the classic sword, lance,
that's probably something that's very prominent on the saddle, some kind of maker's touch is probably crafted on the saddle. So it's not difficult to guess what order I would belong to.
Right. So here's the conundrum. Your orders may not differentiate, but as kinsmen and countrymen, your countries certainly do. So would you reveal to him and risk the political ties to each country where he probably should not help you? Or just kind of like, well, we both serve the... You know what I'm saying? There's a certain respect and a camaraderie that goes, even if they're of a rival nation, but... Or has Frank walked a nuclear bomb right into the heart of Opera and your real work has now begun?
Well, Jeff, it wasn't necessarily my fellow Kadirans that were the ones that sold me into slavery. There are some of them that did sabotage me on my path through Taldor, because I was heading to what is that? Ortalaka? One of the larger cities in Taldor, and that's where I got caught with the substances that I was not supposed to have on me, that I had no clue where they came from.
Gunpowder in a huge barrel.
And so they were the ones that I was arrested and was put into indentured servitude with the Kadirans. So there's a lot of people that are like, I don't have a written down hit list, but I got a hit list.
We don't expect you to reveal, your object of current vengeance, But, a little bit of meta for the audience, at least, to see where we might go with this character. Frank and his character are obviously oblivious or whatever.
No, Fafal wouldn't have any problems with...
So I guess that'll remain to be seen.
Possibly.
For right now.
But no, Fafal has no real ties to Qadira, so he doesn't, even though he has originated there and trained there, he does not have the heart for the country.
Okay.
He's more of a sellsword.
All right.
So.
Gotcha. Well, endearing yourself to a cavalier nobleman, even from a different country or a rival country, was certainly the right move. He literally escorted you all the way to their capital and is offering to give you some basic outfits so at least you don't look like some kind of beggar. So, Frank, would you go with the classic adventurer's artisan outfit, or would you go with something a little fancier, like a courtier's outfit?
I'm not going to dress him.
No, I was going to say, you don't have to. Courtiers go to court, and he has no political ties, as far as you know. It's kind of an overkill, really. 30 gold.
Yeah.
But you're walking around in, you actually have your 75 gold piece noble outfit? Or do you actually have a courtier's outfit? Or did you even have that?
I have a noble's outfit.
Yeah.
That was given by the class, so it's, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. He's a baller.
I'm a baller. Let's see. But just to, I'll give him 25 gold.
Okay.
That's honestly, that's about 95% of my pocket change.
All right.
So, give him the majority of what I have and say, it would be untoward if I let a brother not be able to arm and equip himself reasonably. I'm sorry, I can't do more for you, but we make do with what we have.
Of course, and I do appreciate this. I only need the simplest of clothes. I'm sure I will be able to find some available weaponry and armors. I've always been good with owing favors to people and sorting these things out, not necessarily through gold, but through favors and transactions, connecting people. It's what I do. I love helping people meet other people and find new things and acquire new things. It's truly a wonderful experience. So I do thank you for this. I will only need the 1 gold to purchase a simple outfit for myself. I will figure out how to acquire the rest. Thank you so much. I do greatly appreciate it, Savish.
So you actually return 24 gold to him, say I only need the 1?
Yeah. And I buy the, the artisan's outfit? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he has a problem with being in debt to anybody.
So, as he, falls into this cadence of storytelling that to my ear sounds a little less than honest, I will, as he's buying his things, I'll, pick out like a dagger or something like that, just basic weaponry.
Sure.
And say, make sure you have enough that you can at least cut your meat and bread in for the meal, and buy those things and leave them there. And then go, well, this is where I planned on staying. Should work bring you that way, by all means, seek me out. At least we can share a tankard and perhaps some stories.
Of course. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Again, it's been a wonderful couple of days, weeks, etc. Edit. And
it's been a wonderful week together.
It's been a wonderful week together. And I truly could not have imagined how well that day out on that ship could have gone. Thank you so much.
And you part ways.
So as Fafal stands there and watch Samish ride off on the wonderful, lovely Vicky, Fafal is chuckling to himself. It's from any passerby, he just seems to be a happy, wonderful man. He's having a great time, and he is on his way. He doesn't know where he's going, but he's going. But in Fafal's head, he's laughing. He has added to his list of contacts and potential marks. And he doesn't know what this city is going to bring him, except it's going to bring him a lot of gold, a lot of information, and a lot of fun.
Okay.
And so he is walking down that street with a smile on his face. For fall, the city is ripe for the picking.
Camera fades out. The scene pulls back, showing the port city of Opera, high into the clouds, and Galarian once again rotates to the southeast, drawing us up to the northwest, to the port city of Casimir, where 2 riders, well-traveled, pre-provisioned for the long ride home, have already crossed the first 100 miles and have yet 100 to go before they reach Opera. Bartholomew, Winston, the roads from Casimir towards Old Sahir and then Opera are winding, to say the least. Would you take the most direct route, or would you stay on the travel routes, which will actually take you a little bit longer?
I would stay on the easy road because I've got a cart. So I'd take the path. I wouldn't go bushwhacking.
Well, with an open tarp carp, why not?
Because that's silly.
Okay, so the scene pulling down to 2 riders, one on a wolf, one on a massive heavy warhorse.
I just realized that one could fit under the other.
Hey, if you guys want to do some of that fast and furious precise driving during combat, I just might allow it. Just have some great ride checks going. Imagine that kind of cross charge. But let's not reveal too many of your tactics that you've discussed on or off the air just yet.
Fair enough.
Well, Sir Winston isn't a fan of life on the road at all. He's become quite accustomed over the past few years since him and Barclay have reached fame in the arenas to a more luxurious life, which is apparent by his robust size. So he's not too thrilled. The cart hurts his butt. He misses his second and third breakfasts.
Bartholomew never stops for second and third breakfast.
He said, but
I did.
He said, but
I don't know. Probably, typical halfling curiosity. If there's some structure in the distance, it would pique my interest, and I'd inquire. Are there any landmarks on the way that stand out that you know of?
No.
So, Winston, when you get back to Opero, what are you going to do?
Eat for days. I miss my breakfasts.
And he reaches down and scruffles Barclay's neck.
And you do too, don't you, boy?
Barclay trembles at the thought of you gaining any more weight.
Well, I would have lost weight. This has been a couple weeks on the road, out there and back, right?
Oh, yeah, you've been eating trail rations.
Yeah,
so
I'm trimming down.
Yeah, so, yeah, Barclay's
got a spring in his step.
Barclay's got the fall spring in his step, It's just he's dragging his feet, though. If he could slow down the march to Opera and keep you on those rations, the pounds fall off by the day. So, yeah.
Winston, the life of a traveling soldier does keep you living longer.
Well, I wouldn't exactly call myself a soldier. Pretty good at a fight when I need to be, but... No, my days are best spent at court and protecting the halfling settlements around the city.
I'm not aware of many halfling settlements around Opera. I'm most of the times in the military academies.
Typical noble behavior. Of course you don't notice the halfling settlements. You consider them nothing more than slaves.
I would beg to differ on that there, Winston.
Well, I admit you are a little different yourself for a noble.
It has nothing to do with the tusks.
Oh, well, I'd hardly noticed them till now.
Are you saying you're not a man? And that's the only time you could say that without him insulting you, because he's saying you're not a man, not that you're not a man. If you were any other halfling, I would kill you where you stand, says the Klingon. Sorry, go ahead.
What are your plans when you return to the city?
To go home, to speak with my father and grandfather.
Indeed. Tell me of them.
They're strict. Imagine a wall that is straighter than your eye can see, and higher than the clouds themselves.
Your father and grandfather are giants?
Of sorts.
Indeed.
He just kind of looks a little confused and thoughtful and kind of, eyes trail off as he's trying to picture your lineage.
So you're saying that your family is hard to live up to?
Inevitably so.
Indeed. So I'm sure we'll have business to attend to with Alcaste before we can settle into our regular routines. Perhaps he'll have more work for us.
Indeed. And I would be more than inclined to celebrate our victories at a tavern.
Oh, as would I, friend, as would I. The ale will flow long into the night as we regale the people of tales of our adventures.
I know of this one tavern. I used to sneak out to it whenever I could get outside the mansion. It's called the Stumbling Knight. It's but a stone's throw from my home.
I can't say I've graced the doors of that establishment.
Now, I've graced its floors many of times.
Indeed, good sir. Sounds like we could have some fun together.
That much I do intend, Winston, and we'll see if you live up to your name of Portly.
Well, I didn't give myself that name.
Well, it would be the best way to spend our time waiting for our comrades to make it back to Opera.
Yes. I figure my first and second meal should eat up at least half that time.
They still haven't convinced me that the second meal exists.
Oh, there's always a second meal.
And the scene draws back over the lavish lands of Taldor as the two riders pass the halfway point, getting to know each other a little better. For after all, despite race, creed, or order, a cavalier is still a cavalier. Once more the globe turns towards Wispel. Located in the depths of the Verdran Forest, Wispel is the gnomish city responsible for most of Taldor's supply of timber and much of its woodcraft. Wispel provides the timber that fuels the bustling shipyards of Casimir, which in turn grants the Taldan Imperial Navy its power. True to his word, a samurai has stayed behind to watch over the fallen enemy, to be reclaimed by their own kind, their own order. The scene pulls back on Leon, who has literally been stripped of horse, hog-tied to a stake, and is being transported to answer for the crimes of attempted murder against two of their most revered druids.
Oh, God, do I hate the forest.
Hey, I know it sounds bad. Was uncomfortable with that get off scot-free, especially since what we did with the Kitsune, right? It's kind of gaming justice that the Kitsune got away, so Leon doesn't get away. Forced to surrender to your captors, and, well,
I suppose you taking me is as good as I taking you. Well, I have a lot to think about. And he kind of slumps down against his... Am I basically on a spit being carried?
Yep, your horse is being led by druids.
So I basically just kind of slump into the hang and just kind of like sit there thinking until we get closer.
They have brought larger animal companions that are carrying the unconscious and, suffering, dwarf and such. And some have stayed behind, or actually have traveled on the distance back to where you were to speak with the Blackwood tree to get its testimony about what happened. So as long as you don't, do anything rash, hopefully the tree will speak the truth and, this diplomatic incident will be cleared up.
As I said, I am eventually going to get there. And also, I've just noticed that being verbose and trying to sound like the nobles of Opara that have surrounded me for basically half of my life has not gotten me very far. So I'm kind of sick of that.
True.
When I get to someone that is worth giving a name drop to, I just assumed at this point I was being carried by, I don't want to say grunts, but...
Druids, rangers, friends of the forest.
Yes.
Moose turns you.
Enough self-reflection.
King Bullwinkle?
Maybe. The moose carries on. All right. Once again, the scene pulls back, and the globe begins to spin. 1 day, 2 day, several days. Eventually, 3 things happen. First,
Time moves forward.
that's true.
4 things.
4 things happen. A couple of things are going to happen. First, much to your chagrin, you learn that you are not headed to the gnomish city of Wispel, and that you've been captured by a small circle of druids who call themselves Nature's Cataclysm.
Well, that's good to know.
They tell you,
I mean, that's important, but for now, screw them. I'm going home. It's been a long trip.
oh, you have other plans? True, they have.
My
They have.
plans are to go to Opara, but I'm not immediately going to meet up with my comrades.
Oh, I see. When you said home, I thought you meant the other side of the world.
I haven't been back to Tien in years. I haven't been back to Tien.
True. Funny. Thinking about it now, you've just triggered another flashback cutscene. Congratulations. Matt, cue Scooby-Doo music.
Scooby-Doo music.
Wayne's World.
Thank you. Wayne's World doing their Scooby-Doo impression.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, just before they actually unmask Jenkins, they start like, oh, earlier on we noticed this, and you have this blurry fade, and you get a little bit of that, subjective.
Oh, you know what? I never knew what that was from.
It was kind of them translating a scene into sound more than...
Yes, I get you.
Okay. Now that I'm completely lost and derailed.
Flashback scene. The history of the samurai.
Thank you. Is incredibly cold at the top of the world where the Elfin people come from. A bridge for merchants to connect Zaitan to the modern world. A mother, a small contingent of loyal men, and a traitor in their midst, and a weak and drugged son made the trip out of desperation. A young Elfin warrior and an uncle who led part of a tribe intercepted and ambushed them. The young man, adrenaline kicking in, hearing the cries of his mother, struggles against the sedatives that were given to him to gain focus. Driving snow so cold, a blank white sheet. And then boots, strong but young hands hoisting him to his feet, his eyes trailing up the boots, and then suddenly coming into focus, a weapons belt, a dagger hilt. Instinctively he grabs it and palms it, and then looking into the face of his captor, a tall, skinny, Elfin youth, barely 5-6 years older than himself. Their eyes lock, and the Elfin's intent becomes clear, to take his life, or worse, to take him prisoner. His mother's cries, "Don't hurt my son! I beg of you, whatever happens!" No, the young Zaitan boy decides. I will fight. The dagger swiftly appearing in his hand, pressing the dagger's blade to the boy's throat. An instant understanding happens between the two boys. As a language barrier separates them, unable to communicate, the Elfin warrior tilts his head to one side, assessing the boy's weakened state. The Zaitan boy wonders, acceptance of his fate, or something else? He slowly lets go of his grip on the boy's shoulders, and in that relaxing moment, since he has already drawn breath, he utters a single word of power, passed down from his Elfin heritage, from mighty skald to mighty skald bard. Simple, eloquent, catches him off guard, and casts a lullaby. The young Zaitan boy's eyes quickly roll back in his head, too weakened to fight the willful force of magic upon his mind and his body. The dagger slipping from his grasp, even as he tries to press his thumb into the boy's throat. White, driving snow and cold, blackout.
Realizing what's happening, Leon shakes his head and quickly to himself, Yada, zetai kaerenai, ever again.